Hi there, Robert Sullivan here, coming to you from lovely Pensacola Beach, Florida. And I want to share with you today the number one reason that I find when I go into carriers that they get into trouble and why carriers that are no longer with us are no longer with us. And what gets carriers into a decline situation, decline position. Basically, as you can see in the diagram here, a company has three buckets, if you will. They have a revenue bucket, which all the revenue cost goes into. They have a variable cost bucket, which is their P&D wages and fringes, their dock worker wages and fringes. It's your line haul driver wages and fringes. It's your fuel. It's your maintenance. It's your tolls. It's your tires. All of those variable costs that make up the why we put what cost we incur in putting a piece of a unit on the street for a pickup and delivery or for line haul. So the variable cost bucket is the key relationship. The key relationship is variable cost to revenue. The third bucket that we have is the fixed cost and semi-fixed cost bucket. So what happens in an LTL carrier, which is very variable and cost intense, is revenue comes into the company and goes into that first bucket. Then you have your variable cost that we just discussed. So you have to take that revenue, cover your variable costs. You suck it out of the revenue container. It goes into the variable cost container to cover the level of variable cost that the company has. And then any revenue left over after covering variable costs becomes what we call contribution dollars. And those are contribution dollars that contribute to covering the fixed and semi-fixed cost of the company. And once you cover this fixed and semi-fixed cost of the company, and obviously, as you can see, you have profitability, a profit portion there. The problem I find going into companies that are certainly the ones that are declining or failing is that key relationship, those two buckets, revenue and variable cost, are out of sync. The company begins to see margins decline, cash flow get tight is the first really sign. Your cash flow gets tight, then margins begin to decline. And the typical reaction to that in the LTL industry has been, we need more revenue. So they'll go out and they'll generate more revenue by reducing pricing on current and new customers. And what happens is the quality of that revenue the company brings in begins to decline. So the revenue quality declines, and then a funny thing happens to revenue once it reaches a terminal. Once revenue reaches the terminal, it loses its identity. It becomes work. It becomes shipments that the operations people within the terminal have to deal with. It's from the dock and P&D, line haul, so it becomes work. So because of the traditional systems that carriers will use to measure productivity, such as wages as percent of revenue, or stops per hour, pounds per man hour, very macro and not really representative. And then the paradigms of the supervision that plans, organizes, and controls the operation every day. Supervisors will have paradigms about, well, Bob here runs 250 miles a day, so he can only put off 8 stops or whatever the number may be. So as shipment count begins to increase at the terminal level, we begin to see hours increase and overtime increase, and not the good overtime. And we see supervision and terminal managers raising their hands and said, I need more trucks, I need more drivers, I need more equipment to handle this increase in shipment count. So what happens? The variable cost container begins to climb at a faster rate than the revenue container because we're reducing the quality of that revenue, and shipment count increases. Shipment count as a percent of growth begins outpacing revenue as a percent of growth. And so variable cost increases, and what happens as a result of variable cost increasing? Contribution dollars we have left over to cover fixed and semi-fixed costs begins to decrease, and things actually get worse even though you grew your revenue base. So the next step that they typically take in a decline situation is they will attack the fixed cost. They will, take company cars away, reduce the number of salespeople. I've seen it all, crazy things. And that works one time, maybe twice if you're lucky. It's called slash and burn. And maybe twice if you're lucky. But then you may get to break even, and you may even make a small profit for a short period of time. But then eventually you're right back where you were to begin with, and probably in a worse situation. Because what you've done here is you've treated the symptom, not the problem. The problem is the relationship of your variable cost to revenue. And that is simply the quality and quantity of the revenue that you brought into the organization, and then the variable cost the operations side of the company uses to handle that revenue when it becomes a shipment within their terminals. So those two containers get out of whack and things get worse, and the next thing you know, the banks are bringing you to their office, and it's not very pretty. So this is typically the scenario I find that has taken place when I go into a company that is in a decline situation or would see their margins decreasing. So what you have to do is you have to improve the quality of your revenue, the quantity of revenue. At the same time, you have to have a system that's going to give operations the opportunity to manage that variable cost on a daily basis through P&D productivity improvements and capacity utilization, through dock efficiency improvement, and then through line haul trail utilization improvement. And line haul, one measure I look at that might be a little different than most people think. Traditionally, companies look at load average, stuff like that. I like to look at bills per trailer and miles per bill. If I see bills per trailer increasing, that brings revenue right along with it, doesn't it? Bills per trailer increasing, and then miles per bill would be decreasing, and we'll see our utilization improving. So that's the initial information I'd like to leave you with, or a caveat I'd like to leave you with, that the key to profitability for an LTL carrier, which is extremely capital intense, is managing that relationship of variable cost to revenue. And you know what? TPG has a system that will do that, manage that relationship of variable cost to revenue. So thank you for watching. If you have any questions or want to talk about some of the concepts I've gone through today, please give me a call or drop me an email. Would love to talk with you and help you through the box on that. So thank you, and appreciate you stopping by.